Hi there, I'm on the road in my electric Beetle, ready to tour the delights of East Saxony. I'm travelling close to the Polish border, where there are architectural highlights galore. I'll discover one of Hollywood's favourite filming locations, the beautiful town of Görlitz, which you might recognise from Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel or from Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. I'll also get to stay the night in one of the world's most iconic pieces of modern architecture, Haus Schminke. That's the first stop on my list, so let's go. Unbelievable! Look at that! Haus Schminke. It's one of the most important pieces of modern architecture and I get to stay the night here. Doesn't it look super futuristic? Even though it was built back in the 1930s, it looks almost more like a boat than a house. Let's go check it out. I have an appointment with Julia Boyarin. She works for a foundation that conserves and protects Haus Schminke. The house is obviously gorgeous, but why is it so significant?
It's considered one of the world's four most groundbreaking residential houses of the classic modern period in the 1920s and 30s. And it's not just us saying that. There's actually a recognised top 4 list, besides Haus Schminke in Löbau. It includes Villa Tugendhat in Brno in the Czech Republic by Mies van der Rohe, Villa Savoie by Le Corbusier near Paris, and the Falling Water House by Frank Lloyd Wright in Pennsylvania. Falling Water really showcases the interplay between nature and house, both inside and out.
Hans Sharoun built Haus Schminke from 1932 to 33. 2 decades later, the architect became world famous with his design of the Berlin Philharmonic. The man who commissioned the construction of the house was Fritz Schminke, who ran a pasta company. My first impression is that it's not that cozy, but it's super cool.
Not cosy?
Yeah, maybe it's just the floor. Was it always like this?
No, actually much of the original interior design has been lost. Maybe that's a good starting point, because the Haus Schminke was never as white as it is today, especially the interiors. They used to be very colourful. Take the floor. It used to have dark blue velour carpeting in a really vibrant shade.
Quite different then.
Exactly, so unfortunately there have been some changes. And several things are missing here in the living room. We've managed to have certain interior design elements remade and bit by bit made it feel more welcoming again. But of course originals and replicas aren't the same thing.
Fritz and Charlotte Schminke lived in the large modern house with their children, Harald, Gertraude, Erika and Helga. This footage is from home videos the family shot in the 1930s. It shows them spending quality time together.
This is the living room, the biggest room in the house. You notice how the spaces kind of flow into each other. They aren't distinctly separated. The interior design elements have been removed, which was detrimental to the living room. Over here we have a replica of the original sofa. The Schminke children said they always took naps on it together. We were in close contact with the youngest daughter, and once we'd decided to have a replica of the sofa made, she said, well then, we need the little sausage dog table too. And here it is, standing right where the original table used to be. You can tell why they called it the sausage dog table if you take a look at its legs.
Julia Boyarin shows me what makes this house so special, particularly for a family. This secret door was for the children to climb out into the garden.
Hans Sharoun really designed a house for people to live in. He saw there were kids, and so there were really a lot of nice child-friendly details in the house. And that includes these colourful peepholes in the patio doors. They're right at a child's eye level, and the orange ones over there are originals. When you look through them, you see the world in different colours. The youngest daughter fondly recalls how the kids would rush from one hole to the other until they were almost dizzy. Blue, orange, red, blue, orange, red.
Playing, eating, working. The Schminke's family life took place on the ground floor. Upstairs was reserved for sleeping. Oh, wow. Oh, that's not a bed for two.
Right, no double bed here. That has to do with the sun. That's where Charlotte would sleep. She was an early riser and liked being gently stirred awake by the sun, so her bed faced east. But Fritz wasn't an early riser. He actually had a mirror here that would reflect the morning sun back out. When Fritz woke up, the first thing he would see was his factory, where he could check whether there was smoke coming out of the chimney and people were working.
While he was still in bed.
Right, it's actually pretty romantic because their heads were side by side, so they could always look at each other and talk. Although old photos show there was an S-shaped curtain rail, so if they didn't want to talk, they could close the curtain.
And just say goodnight.
Yes, say goodnight in their own spaces.
Haus Schminke is more than a pilgrimage site for architecture fans. For one thing, guests can spend the night here, as I'll be doing. The house is also a cultural hub. It's often used for concerts, or even as a filming location, for example for the show Night Grooves.
Turning me on, turning me off, making me feel like I want too much. Living with you's just putting me through it all of the time.
Night Grooves was a music show that ran for several seasons, which DW co-produced.
Living with you's just putting me through it all of the time. I would leave, but I won't go. It would be easier, I know. I could feel a thing from my head down to my toe. Why does it always seem to be?
So it's time for bed. Sweet dreams. I can't find the light.
Nicht.
I slept like a rock, and I'd love to stay here longer, but it's time for me to get back on the road. Since I'm already here in Löbau, I'm going to check out what the town centre has to offer. Like many small German towns, Löbau has a quaint, neat centre with a market square, town hall and church. I like the red roofs. But I want to see another attraction that's very close by. This tower is very unusual because it's made entirely of cast iron. It's the only one of its kind still standing in Europe. The King Frederick Augustus Tower was built in 1854. I really like the decoration everywhere here. It has a kind of neo-Gothic feel, but also neo-Byzantine, and it's somehow fragile at the same time. It looks really cool. The tower consists of some 1,000 individual parts. It weighs around 70 tons, and the view from 28 meters up is gorgeous. And somewhere in this direction is where the town of Görlitz has to be. And that's my next destination. I've heard a lot of interesting things about this city, so I'm excited to finally be here. Wow, what a town! I feel like I've just been transported back in time. Can you believe that the town of Görlitz is celebrating its 950th birthday in 2021? Despite its small size, Görlitz is home to over 3,000 monumental buildings, making it the largest collection of architectural monuments here in Germany. Obviously, I don't have a clue where to start, so I'm about to meet an expert who should hopefully lead me to the most interesting and unusual spots here. Tobias Panke is in charge of maintaining the city's monuments.
Die Stadt hatte im Krieg
The town was extraordinarily lucky during the war. It was neither bombed nor destroyed. That's why there is still this diverse array of monuments today. We have monuments from the late Middle Ages to the 20th century.
Everything looks so restored and clean. How do you manage that?
Relatively early on in the 1990s, we tapped various funding sources to start restoring the town. For instance, we had an old city foundation, and there was this one anonymous donor.
Ooh, who was that?
An anonymous donor started out donating 1 million Deutschmarks every year, and then later, €500,000. That money was a huge help. It enabled us to carry out certain restoration projects that other cities weren't in a position to do.
But they remained anonymous?
Yes, I don't know who they are.
And is he or she still making payments?
It could be a he or a she or even multiple people. We don't know. So the payments stopped in 2016, but they enabled us to do great projects that we'll have a look at in a moment.
Can't wait. Where are we going first?
First, we're going to the Schwibbogen House, which has the most beautiful breakfast room in town.
Sounds perfect. The nearly 500-year-old Schwibbogen House was converted into a hotel 10 years ago. This looks really old.
It is. We were very surprised when we discovered this, because until then we hadn't found such large paintings that are this vibrant in the hosting rooms of 16th century patricians' homes. And they're a real who's who.
Who are they?
There are several major figures. Emperor Charles V and his wife Isabella of Portugal, Frederick the Wise, Elector of Saxony, Emperor Ferdinand I and his wife Anna.
How often do you see that? Extraordinarily precious, nearly 500-year-old murals adorning the walls of a hotel breakfast room. The second destination on our tour of special monuments is a store. A butcher's shop, to be precise. And certainly the most beautiful butcher's shop I've ever been in. It was decorated in this Jugendstil style in 1911, with tiles from Villeroy and Boch. Our next stop is another architectural gem.
Here we're standing in a low German house typical of Görlitz. These types of buildings belonged to wealthy merchants or patricians who lived and worked along the Via Regia trading route, which greatly added to the town's wealth.
The Via Regia was a key trading route between Eastern and Western Europe in the Middle Ages, and Görlitz was directly on it. The Church of St. Peter and Paul, or simply St. Peter's Church, is the largest Gothic hall church in Saxony. We make our way up, but not to see a tower. We're going to the church's attic. What can you tell me about this attic?
It's an enormous attic. That's why I wanted to show it to you. When you're standing in the church nave down below, you don't realize that you have the same volume of space sitting on top as well.
Yeah, it's incredibly big.
I think it's the biggest attic in town.
Yeah, I can believe that.
They must have cut down a whole forest to build this. I think someone once calculated it took several hectares.
I'm on my way to my next appointment. I'm meeting photographer Jörg Nicht. He lives in Berlin now, but he was born and raised here in Görlitz.
Perfect.
You're a real natural driving that car. Would you like to keep it?
Würdest du es gerne behalten?
Yeah, I'd love to. Jörg has a soft spot for old cars, but he has many interests and his work is wide-ranging. He has over 500,000 Instagram followers. So Jörg, how do you take the perfect picture?
For the perfect picture, you need the perfect location. Take this street right here, the Black Street or Schwarze Straße. It has great old cobblestones and the pretty portals up above, which together provide nice framing. So all that's left to do is finding the right light and you're all set.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hannah, come in.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. This is Tessa Enright. She's originally from Arizona in the US, but she's been living in Görlitz since 2016. Around the house are photos of her ancestors, visual reminders that connect Tessa to where she comes from.
My husband grew up in Görlitz, and we decided that we wanted to be closer to his family. They live here.
Nice.
And he wanted to work in his father's company, so.
How long did it take you to kind of build a life here for yourself? And
You know, I jumped in pretty quickly. As soon as I moved here, I started an English-speaking group, and I started teaching at the Volkshochschule, teaching English.
oh, you were teaching?
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
And then I've gotten into translation work, and yeah, it was pretty quick. So let me show you on this map here.
Where home is for you.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's so nice.
Arizona, and then here we are in Görlitz.
Very far away.
Yeah.
The Lusatian Neisse River forms a natural border between Poland and Germany, and runs right through Görlitz.
Just getting to know the town has been really important and feeling connected to it.
The language too, I presume.
Yeah, definitely. The more people I get to know, the more connections I make, I feel more at home here. I think I'm always going to feel kind of caught between two worlds, but I definitely feel good here.
Since moving here, Tessa has learned a lot about the city and now offers guided tours in English.
So we have so many beautiful portals in Görlitz, but this one is special. I want to show you why.
Oh, nice.
Okay?
I'm intrigued.
Go to that side, I'll go to this side. So if you climb up a little bit.
Okay.
And you need to put your ear to this groove here.
Okay, I'm listening. Can you hear me? Oh my goodness. This is so weird. Yes. How does this happen? The whisper portal carries sound through a ridge from one side to the other. Where to next?
Let's go this way.
Okay. Görlitz has become a popular film location and is sometimes nicknamed Görliwood. The city has hosted numerous big-budget international film crews. For instance, American director Wes Anderson shot many scenes for the Grand Budapest Hotel here. Tessa shows me a few of the movie's locations. This building played a very special role. The former Jugendstil department store has stood vacant since 2009. It's been used as a film set several times, and here it's getting a new makeover, this time for a German series. I feel like I somehow recognize this space. What's that from?
Yeah, so the Kaufhaus in Görlitz is best known for being in the film Grand Budapest Hotel.
Of course.
They filmed the lobby scenes inside of here.
Okay. For that movie, the space was decked out in elaborate style.
This used to be a department store. And I actually was here once when it was, but I can't remember, honestly.
It's so weird to imagine it full and bustling of people.
Yeah, it's empty a while, so that's another reason there's a lot of talk about the Kaufhaus. Everyone is anxious to see it open again.
Now I'm on my way to a film set right here in the middle of Görlitz, a major drama production for a new German TV show. All of this commotion in the middle of town is for one scene. On this day alone, more than 160 extras are involved. The drama series is based on a real-life department store from 1920s Berlin and tells the stories of characters working in it.
Having this vacant store here was a huge advantage for us. Plus, it was a Jugendstil department store, which was exactly what we were looking for. Here we're standing on the set of the Scheunenviertel district of 1920s Berlin. We got permission to replicate it in Görlitz, which is great because of the town's narrow streets. You don't find these in all cities. And in Berlin, you would never get the filming permit for something like this.
Renowned German actor Alexander Scheer was cast as one of the main characters. He plays the owner of the department store.
Yesterday, something happened which I've never experienced on a shoot. We were filming here in this street. I was there having my shoes cleaned by Annie. And then I was supposed to walk that way and exit the scene. I had no more lines or anything to do after that, and I was just walking down the street. And these people were coming towards me, out of the fog. Disabled servicemen with missing legs, prostitutes by the movie theater, card players doing tricks, a man on a horse, and you could hear gramophone music through the windows. I've never experienced anything like that before. It was like diving into another time. Just amazing.
Görlitz was a great experience. I'll be back one day for sure. Before I leave, I just have to get a final view of this beautiful town. And I reckon the best way to do that is from above. So I'm gonna climb up this tower. Till next time.